Okay, so this is a confusing video because I've got the wig on and I've got the ears. So what do you suppose that might mean? Well, I never actually knew. There's a couple of videos like this where I kind of combine the two. And it's never actually something I gave it any thought. It's like, I just feel like wearing both of them. But today I actually gave it a little bit of thought. Because what I was thinking about that I wanted to try to say, I have the dog running around and the cat's over here. Anyway, as some of you know, I used to be a Christian. I was a Christian for the majority of my life. So I feel like as a former Christian, I have the ability, I can say things because I've been there. And so I kind of also know a little bit about the fear because I had it. And when I say fear, I'm talking about when you have so much built up on this belief in God, you don't want to stop believing in this God. You don't want to hear anything or read anything that might upset this belief that you have and put it into doubt, because that belief there's so much riding on that belief that you don't want to lose. It's not just, oh, well, I believe in the supernatural being that lives in the sky and keeps a list of all the bad things that we do, and there's judgment day, etc., etc. It's not just belief in that. It's belief in the fact that you might live forever, that when you die, you don't really die, you just die in the body, and what's really you, which is the spirit inside, goes on and lives, and you get to see people that you love and that you miss. You get to see them again in this afterlife existence, and there's a big family reunion, and all these things. You don't want to let that go. You don't want to believe that your mom or dad are gone for real, or your sister or your brother or your best friend is gone for real. You don't want to believe that. You want to believe that they are still around in some kind of a spiritual existence. They even might drop in from time to time to see how you're doing. They might be up there kind of giving you a little aid in the other world, the spirit world, a little strength when you need it. Maybe they've become your guardian angel. You like to think that if anyone wants to be there for you and protect you from having that horrible accident in your car, it's going to be your dad who passed away. Stuff like that. People cherish that belief. People cherish and value the ability to think that, or hope, to have that hope that when they die, that there's going to be, that it's not over, that you're going to go on. And if you've had a lot of pain and suffering in your life or illness in your life, you're going to be suddenly unfettered from that physical existence that you've had to suffer, and you're going to spread wings and fly and have no pain anymore. And if you lost a leg, you'll have your two legs back, and you'll be able to run. And kind of like, I'm thinking of the guy in Avatar, when he first tries out his Avatar body, and he's just, I have legs again, and he's running, and he's just thrilling in the sensation of burying his toes in the dirt. That's kind of like, imagine somebody who is an amputee and doesn't have legs. Looking forward to the day when he's in heaven and he's whole again, and he doesn't feel pain, and he can run, and he never gets tired, or just this place where there's no bad things anymore, and there's no hurt, and there's no depression, there's no disappointment, there's no betrayal, all these things that hurt us, that hurt us and cut us, not just physically, but in our hearts, wouldn't exist anymore. There would be nothing bad. Everybody would love everybody, and there would be this community of happiness and support, and everybody would be, that's a really nice thought. And people, especially I think people who really do suffer a lot in this world, in this life, it's like, this is all there is. You can't tell me that this is all I get. This is so unfair. This is this one life, and I get to be in this crippled or ill or aching, sore body. That's what I get. You know, I kind of relate to that, being that I'm getting older. I have a need that's every morning I get up, okay, how is this thing going to work today? You know, is it going to be, I'm pretty sure I have osteoarthritis in my knee. Anyway, it hurts. FYI, arthritis really hurts. It sucks when people have it. I can't even imagine having it in my fingers, but I'm sure one day I will, because it seems to be. I think they should come up with a cure for arthritis. In fact, the older I get, the more I think that. But anyway, nobody wants to let go of the hope, and that's what you don't want to have to lose. You don't want to lose all these thoughts, these imaginings that you like to think one day you'll be free of pain. You'll see your loved ones again. You won't have any of the heartache that you have now. You know, I don't think you need to have a God to have all those hopes. Why can't you have those hopes? Why can't you? I think, you know, I'm pretty close to the kind of atheist that there's agnostic atheists who they confess they don't know that there's a God, but they don't believe that there is, you know. Or there's atheists that say there's no such thing as God. Until you prove that there's a God, I don't believe that there's any such thing exists. I'm in the middle. I don't believe that there's any such thing as God. I don't believe that a God exists. I also don't know. You know, I feel like very unlikely. But I can't say for sure that a God doesn't exist, because how would I know? I can say that I'm 100% sure. And again, there's a huge I don't know after that, because nobody can be 100% sure. And I think it's arrogant to say that I'm 100% sure. And Christians do that all the time. Oh, I know there's a God. It's like, no, you don't. You don't. And you don't know that your beliefs are the truth either. And it's just arrogant to say that, to call your beliefs the truth, because that immediately puts everybody else's beliefs under yours, which is offensive and demeaning and arrogant. And ignorant, in my opinion, too. I just feel like, I don't think that if there's some kind of spiritual whatever entity that's controlling everything, I tend to think of it more like the Force, you know, in Star Wars, something like that. Something that doesn't really have conscious thought, or you know, it's not thinking all the time. It's not writing down rules for little mortals to have to follow. It doesn't really care. It's just a presence that exists, and everything is combined, is connected because of this presence. And I think the Force is a good analogy for what I think. But I don't think that exists either. But I think if there was a God, it would be more like that, and not like the stupid, very evil being that we read about in the Bible. So anyway, that's my point. My point is, you don't have to have a king for the kingdom. Just because all of our governments on this earthly plane that we live on have a president or a leader or a king or whatever, or a queen, doesn't mean that we have to have that kind of system in, you know, when we die. Okay, not that I'm saying that we would. I still believe that there's no such thing as life after death. I like to think that I will see my dad again. I like to hold on to the beliefs that I've cherished. But I don't really think that that's really going to be. I mean, it's a nice thought. You know, I haven't completely lost all hope of it, but at the same time, I think it's highly unlikely that there's anything after death. I think we just die. And I think that that's just fine. It doesn't bother me that we just die. It's just a natural thing. It's a natural part of existence and everything. But I don't think that it's all depending on the existence of God. I think that there can be a spiritual world that we don't see, in some other dimension that we don't see. completely without a God running the show. I think that's a very earthly notion, that there has to be a leader. I don't think we have to have a leader in another. I mean, that's we're thinking like finite beings when we put a king on the throne and say, okay, he's the king and we're going to worship him and, you know, pay homage and all that. That's all very earthly. I don't believe that. I think if there was such a thing as God, and it was a, you know, it basically had created everything, it wouldn't care about such incredibly trivial matters as being worshipped and being paid homage and having praises directed at it. I don't think that that kind of stuff would even be a remote concern or something it would be wanting. It'd be like, whatever, you know, like, I know I'm great. I don't need you to tell me constantly how great I am. I know I'm great. Now let's move on. Let's do something interesting. So yeah, I don't think that God is real. I don't think that God could ever be real. I think, and the other thought is too, Christians try to shy away from the Old Testament. It's like I said in my previous videos, it's like, okay, you go to church and every now and then your pastor might turn to the book of, you know, Hebrews or whatever. I don't think is there a Hebrews? I can't remember. It's been a while since I used to have, probably isn't, is there? I don't know. I used to have all the books memorized, and I don't remember them now. I remember some of them, but I don't remember. So whatever. Turn to whatever. Ephesians. Okay, we know there's a Ephesians. And, you know, every now and then through a sermon, they might have you go to the Old Testament. And it's like, it gives you that feeling that the whole Bible is supporting your beliefs. It's not true. They cherry pick through the Old Testament too. They pick out the stuff in the Old Testament that supports whatever message they have to say that particular Sunday. You know, I could say, okay, this is true, and then go through the Bible and find verses to support what I say is true. Anybody can do that. Hitler believed that it was God's will for him to kill the Jews, and he went through the Bible and he picked out things in the Bible that supported that belief. And, you know, Christians go through the Bible to find little verses to support their belief that God is love. But you know what? You call it the Word of God, and you look at just little bits that support what you want to believe. If it truly is inspired by God, and it's every word of it is 100% accurate and true and divine or whatever, every word of the Bible has significance. You should read the whole thing. And that's what causes a lot of Christians to become atheists, because you don't actually go looking for a reason to stop believing. You go looking for a way to strengthen what you believe. You look just like, you know, I'm going to go through and find things to support what I believe, to strengthen my belief, because I feel like I'm kind of in doubt right now. So I'm going to go through and read the Bible and strengthen what I believe. That's usually what happens. And then you get into the Bible and you find yourself reading it, and you stumble across verses that you've never heard in church and you didn't even know were there. And then the next thing you know, you're realizing that this thing that you've been worshiping your whole life is actually a baby killer. He's not only killed babies, but he's ordered pregnant women to be thrust through, cut open with swords. You know, Christians like to say that that the Bible is pro-life and God is against abortion. It's not true. If you read the Old Testament, you'll see that the first thing that God likes to do is he targets the little children. He targets the babies. If he wants to punish an adult, he doesn't kill the adult, he kills their child. You know, he kills their firstborn. So anyway, I don't want to believe in that God, and luckily I don't think I have to. I don't have to believe in the Christian God. I don't really have to believe in any God, but you know, I like to think if there's some kind of afterlife and there was some kind of being, entity running the show, he wouldn't really care about such trivial things as worship. The fact that this God does, and he's so egotistical, he cares about all the same things that a dictator like Hitler would have cared about. It tells me that he was created by men. He is an extension of man. He is a reflection of man's character. He's got all the bad, negative qualities that a man has. And I don't mean men in general, humans, because women have those same qualities. Believe it or not, women have egos too. We do. We have egos. We want to compete. We want to win. We want to be the best. All those things. We might not be as strong in women as men, but we have it too. We're all human beings. So I don't know if this chat is going anywhere. I guess what I'm trying to say is your whole hopes that there's some kind of afterlife and that there might be something more than just this life doesn't necessarily fall to pieces just because there's nothing to show that your God exists. It doesn't fall to pieces. What I would think it's good news to think that this God doesn't exist, because the God that's described in the Bible is really very bad. And that's what causes a lot of Christians like myself to become atheists, is when you realize that you start to see the stamp all over the Bible that this was created by men, and not just nice men, but men who really want to have a lot of power over people and control people, especially women, you know. So anyway, I guess that's as good as it gets for this video. I don't know how else to say what I'm trying to say. It's just, you don't want to let go of the little cherished hopes, and you don't have to. You can still have those cherished hopes, but looking at them in a more realistic way. Okay, I accept that maybe it isn't true. I'm willing to accept that maybe I just die when I die, and if that's the case, great. You know, I won't exist anymore, so it won't bother me. But, you know, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe when I die that there's going to be some kind of spirit world, but I don't think that this God is running the show. I don't think this God exists, and I'm not going to worship this God. That's the other thing. People worship this God. It's like, have you read the Old Testament? Have you really read it? Try reading it like you're an open mind, like you have no preconceived ideas about anything. Try reading it like you're somebody that isn't one of God's chosen people, and imagine you're one of the people that are slowly dying in the flood, and you want to get in the ark, but he's not opening the door to let you in. Or imagine that you're one of the citizens in Jericho, and you know, you've never heard of this God that these Israelites are telling you about, and they basically just want your place. They want your land. They want to take, this is their land. God has promised this land to them, and you're in the way. And if you don't get out of the way, they're going to wipe you out. Every single one, down to the last baby. You're one of those people. You're one of the people behind the wall. And these people show up and they tell you that their God is with them and that they're the chosen people. They're his people. And you're just in the way. Kind of like what we did to the Native Americans, you know? Kind of like that, only worse. At least we gave the Native Americans a chance to throw away their culture and everything dear to them, their land, their native tongues, and gave them the chance to be just like us, because we're so much better. It's like in the Bible, if you read about all the conquests that happened when they enter the promised land, and all the peoples that get destroyed, those guys don't get to have a chance to, oh, can we be Israelites too? No, they're just, you're in the way, you don't believe in our God, you're not special to him, you're gone. That's a genocidal God. That's a tribal God. And a very evil God. And I would not worship him. And to me it makes as much sense worshiping this God as it would to worship Hitler. It makes exactly, to me it's the same thing as, let's all worship Hitler. It's the same thing as worshiping this God. And I just wish Christians would read their whole Bible. If they want to continue to worship the God and say, oh, it's a loving God, after they read the Bible and continue to have blinders on or their stained glass glasses on, you know, that's fine. But at least you can say that you've read the whole Bible and you still choose to have these beliefs. The people that really frustrate atheists are the people who haven't read the Bible, and they just, oh, I just feel it. I just feel his goodness in me. I just know he's good because I have him in my heart, and I have this personal experience. You know, I know him personally, and we're friends, and you know what? That's called having an imaginary friend. And little kids can do it. I could do it too. I can imagine that I have an imaginary friend too. And I don't know if I could convince myself, but I suppose if I really tried hard enough, I probably could. You know, if I went looking through this book to find things to support my belief that my imaginary friend is real, I probably could make myself believe in it. But I choose to not. I don't think that I want to believe in something that's imaginary. I think it's better to face reality and say, okay, well, most likely it's not true that I'm going to live after I die, but if it is, you know, it isn't going to be controlled by somebody who actually cares how much people worship it. So, anyway, I hope this video makes sense. It's another one of those where I jump in hoping that if I talk enough, it will. Thanks for watching. Bye.